And so this story, this show really is a love letter to that, I think, common feeling where we feel like we missed out.
But David, honestly, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really do appreciate it. Uh,
No problem, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to chat about the show. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Seeking beauty is fascinating. It's a conversation that I am always fascinated with, of the depth of meaning behind these things. But let's start with David. How did the journey start for you? How did seeking beauty come to be?
As I've grown in life, become an adult, father, husband, children, um, beauty has become more and more interesting to me and has found its way into my life more and more. And I'm getting more and more fired up about it because growing up, it was so unimportant to me. And I think in America, a lot of us can relate to this, that beauty is a superfluous cost that can be cut. It's something you think
Mm,
about at the end. If you got anything left in the budget, maybe you'll doll it up a little bit, but it really means nothing. It's just something that's additive. There's nothing utilitarian or substantial about it that can make a difference in our life, right? And if anything, beauty is just this soft word that guys don't like. And that's how I grew up. That's genuinely what I felt, and I think I'm not alone in that. And boy, was I wrong. As I've gotten older now, I've really appreciated the fact that beauty is the language of the divine. Beauty is a sign of God's fingerprint. Beauty is a witness that God is with us. And getting to travel back into these old places in Europe, I really got to ask questions and understand that mentality and understand the faith of the people that built those things. They weren't just building pretty buildings, they were trying to build a little heaven on earth. And if you look at nature, you can see God's fingerprint, right? You see symmetry, clarity, radiance, proportion, just speaks to you, it leads you to sit there and pause. You feel at peace. And they're recreating that beauty in architecture, in art, in poetry, in their culture. And what's really interesting is how it's so old but so new. It still
mm.
is attracting millions upon millions, countless millions of people every year to all these ancient places in Europe, and I think that in itself is a testimony. But the other sad part and the tragic part is like people walk by, take one glance at this like masterpiece from Caravaggio, and then move right on. They move right on. They're busy. They got to see five things that day, and it's like, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, now I'm out. And I've been that person, right? I've been that person that like you peek into the gorgeous thing, the gorgeous church, the gorgeous whatever, and you see it, and you're like, "Oh, I wish I could know what this thing was. I wish I could understand it, but I'm in a hurry, and I'm getting to the next thing, and I got lunch coming up, and you just miss the profound um, impact that story can have on your life. And so this story, this show, really is a love letter to that. I think common feeling where we feel like we missed out and we wanted to go a little deeper. So it is on its face, it's a travel show. So you'll have fun, think of Anthony Bourdain going to different places or think of Stanley Tucci's show, with food. But ours is on culture. So we travel and we really dissect culture and we really understand what makes a place the way that it is in all elements, art, architecture, poetry, music, food, wine, the people. We really go all in on them.
See, I love that about this show, and I love that it takes it one step further. This, like you said, this pause. We live in an Instagram world, which is not a shot at Instagram. That's fine, but it's
Yep.
about the immediate, the speed, the how much can we get.
Yes.
But beauty in itself is way, and you're looking at it here. You're in these, the standing in these incredible buildings, seeing these incredible pieces of art, and you're drawn to slow down.
Yes.
And yet beauty is such a thing. Like, I don't know how to ask this. Well, I do know how to ask this. I mean, but it's like the idea of beauty is something that is constantly moving.
Yes.
So what in your mind is the soul of beauty itself?
Yeah. I think first you just have to look at its effects, right? When you see
Mm,
something truly beautiful, it could be a waterfall, a forest, a painting, music. When you've encountered something truly beautiful, the effect is universal, right? The effect is you just pause and you contemplate. It makes you think of higher things. And old authors talk about this. Thomas Aquinas, St. Thomas talks about this, where he says the primary first effect of beauty is contemplation. And you even think about it with a beautiful person. You see a truly beautiful person, and they don't even have to be, I don't just mean like physically, like a holy person. You stop and, like, I've met old nuns that are, withering away. But you look at them and you can just tell, I want to talk to you. I want to understand you. There's something beautiful there. So I think by way of effect, you know immediately that there's something deeper about beauty, something universal and something spiritual about beauty. And like Dante said, beauty will save the world. I think there's something salvific about it. I think it can lead you to contemplate higher things. Like I said, it's the fingerprint of the divine. I think you know that for something to have universal effect, you must have a universal motivator or someone putting that into place or keeping its being in existence. And that's God. So, like, I think there is something. Otherwise, well, why can't a child and an adult both look at something and pause? Like, how does that make sense from, like, if you take God out of the equation, how does that make sense? And people from all different parts of the world, you put everyone in front of a gorgeous masterpiece by Caravaggio or some beautiful church or piece of architecture, and everyone looks up. Everyone is drawn to pause and slow down. You know, that doesn't make sense from a purely naturalistic explanation. So to me, yeah, it's I think you're getting a sense of the divine in it.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I love that you point out that it's can be so many things. Like I can stand in the art gallery of Ontario and just be in awe over a painting, and yet I remember my wife on our wedding day or the first time I saw her, and you're just like, wow, like you're
100%.
just drawn in.
Yeah,
And yet it's totally different experiences, yet they're very similar at the same time.
absolutely. Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's
What
beautiful. Beautiful.
what about you going like being over there and going and standing in these spaces? What was that experience like for you? I don't know if you've been there before, but certainly just in these episodes.
It was it was yeah, it's hard to even put into words because it was just so rich. I don't mean that literally. I mean, like, it was just a boon. Like, I was just overwhelmed with beauty, but with graces, with all these experiences. Um, I I learned so much, and it's hard to even process right now because I was put in front of so many different pieces of art and architecture, poetry, music, and the thing that really moved me the most was always the faith of the people that built these things. Because, like, you know, imagine, and this is very foreign to the North American mind, like, imagine you're going to build something and you'll be dead, your kids will be dead, your grandkids will be dead, and maybe your great grandkids or great great grandkids would see this thing that you're building. And it's like, oh yeah, and by the way, it's going to cost you everything to build this. Why the hell would we do that? Like, that makes no sense, right? Like, there's like 5 generations later, they don't even have my DNA, and like they're the ones that are going to get this thing. Like, that makes no sense. But that was the faith of the people. They would literally, you can only discover it in modern times, but like now that we have helicopters and we're able to like use elevators and quickly get up to the top of these old cathedrals, there's statues on top of these old cathedrals that no one can see from the bottom, at least. Gorgeous statues with like such detail that you can see the veins in their arms. And I got up there on top of these cathedrals and I turned to like our guide or our expert, and I was like, why put this there? This thing probably cost the equivalent of like hundreds of thousands of dollars back then, and no one saw it. Literally no one. And the expert that I was with got a smile on her face, and she said, because the people at the time understood that some things are just for God.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, whoa, like, whoa. That's the faith of the people that built these things. Um, That was the common moving experience that I had.
I mean, how do you respond to that? Because
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, right?
I'm
Like,
like, because
yeah,
that's creation for the sake of a creator. I mean, we
yes,
hear about them being commissioned. We hear these grand stories. Oh, the wealthy, the patrons, and all this stuff where patrons were paying for it. But that's just creating with soul.
yeah.
Um, and
That was
it
the thing that moved me. That was the constant uh experience that I had in everything that I saw in the old world, in everything, was the faith of the people was like the Duomo in Milan. That was the city's cathedral. I mean, think of the people back then. They didn't have toilets, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have running water. Like they had a pretty dark, existence. It's all that they knew, so they didn't think of it that way. But like it was a pretty grim time from our standards, certainly. But they had a cathedral. And that cathedral was the place where all of them could go. Heaven touches earth. Beauty is amongst us. It's a symbol of hope. Like the women of the night would literally donate to the cathedral to make sure it was built because that was about their town's pride, their culture, their everything was exemplified in that cathedral. That's why these cathedrals are so gorgeous because it wasn't a place for the rich. It was a place for the common person to go and feel like God is with them and have and touch the heavenly. And it was that kind of faith that built these things over the course of centuries, like to where literally even the women of the night would be like, I'm donating to this thing because I believe in it. I believe that we need to impact future generations and I believe our culture needs it. Um, that was, yeah, that was incredible. The faith of the people, that was incredible.
I don't know if this is an answerable question. I'm just floating that out there right now.
Yeah.
But do you think we've lost that on in this side of the globe, like in the North America, and that
Oh,
like
completely.
why is that? I mean,
Yeah,
why?
that's it completely because I'll tell you why. I mean, we're utilitarian. We only care about what something does and the output that it gets and what my gain is.
Mm,
Like the spiritual has been completely stripped out of our culture. And so naturally when the spiritual is removed, you only care about what works, right? And if you're going to build a building, like all you need is four walls and some windows and some doors, right? That's what makes it work. So then what do you get? A lot of ugly buildings, a lot of ugly things that are clearly going to get torn down in 30 or 40 or 50 years and rebuilt. Because it's not cost effective because all we care about is a temporal profit. So like all that stuff has been completely removed. I think you're seeing a massive change, especially with, my generation, younger generations. I think you're seeing a deep desire and a restlessness for the spiritual. And statistics and polls show that as well. Like you're seeing certain religions really growing again where they weren't, because I think people really are tired of the world and all that it offers and are wanting an otherworldly experience. But the common culture back then was much more spiritual, and that was much more ingrained in society, and everything was looked at from the stance of the common good. It was like we're going to build a building. What impact does that have on the block? What impact will it make on the people in the neighborhood? Is this the culture of the neighborhood? We care about those things, and we just that's just not our culture. That's not
mm.
our culture. I do think things are changing. I hope people watch this show and invite beauty into their own lives because I think it can create, especially on little children too. If you have little children, it creates. It's a teaching mechanism without even speaking. It's just there. It creates a calmness. You enter a beautiful house. Doesn't even need to be a rich house. Any house where someone took some time to make it beautiful, whether it was thrifting furniture, being selective about your art on the walls, or whatever it is. You take the time, and it has a feeling. You feel a peace. You feel a peace if you walk into someone's home where you're like, wow, they. I'm always the most impressed even when people don't have any money, and you walk in and you can tell they took time to make it beautiful. There's a real peace there. Um, and yeah, we can all have it in our lives. So
I love that. I love that, and that's taps in very much to no pun intended the soul of the series.
Yes.
It really is. I know I see we're out of time, but honestly, David, thank you so much for the chance to chat with you about it. I really do think it's just, again, it sounds cliche, a beautiful series
Thank
to
you.
engage with. Thanks
I
so
really
much.
appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure chatting.
Pleasure chatting with you too. Have a great day.